evening visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony, which today commemorates the 73rd anniversary of victory in Europe, the Second World War. Tonight we will hear the story of Flying Officer John Leonard Breed, who lost his life in the skies over England. My name is Chris Weidenbar, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Navy is Lieutenant Commander Lee Pritchard. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During the ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by visitors and by students on behalf of St Mark's Anglican Community School, Hillary's, Western Australia. I invite you all to please stand and join in singing the national anthem. Students, you may be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
September, and over the ensuing days flew several resupply operations to assist the besieged British paratroopers. Breed was promoted to flying officer in late January 1945, and in March he took part in Operation Varsity, the Allied airborne operation which captured key bridges and towns across the Rhine River. In April, Joyce gave birth to a baby boy. The news was received with great joy by Breed's parents in Western Australia. It would be all too brief a time the family would spend together. When Germany surrendered on the 8th of May, the British began Operation Doomsday, which saw 196 Squadron taking British troops to Norway to disarm the large number of German troops still there. In the early hours of Thursday the 10th of May, which was also Ascension Day, Breed and his crew took off for Norway carrying 14 British paratroopers. They encountered heavy weather over the North Sea, and low clouds obscured visibility on the approach to Gardermoen Airport north of Oslo. The landing was aborted and most of the Stirlings returned to England, but for an unknown reason, several of the aircraft continued. Around 1,500 metres from the runway, the Stirling, piloted by Breed, emerged from low clouds some 300 feet from the ground. The aircraft attempted to climb, but lost power, plunged into the ground, and burst into flames. Nearby locals rushed to the scene, but there were no survivors. 2 more Stirlings crashed that morning, and 44 men were killed. Breed was posthumously awarded a mention in dispatches. Breed, Kilday, and their crewmates were buried with the paratroopers near the scene of the crash. Their bodies were later interred in the Oslo Western Civil Cemetery in November 1945. Jack Breed was 24 years old. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my left, among almost 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. His photograph is displayed beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Flying Officer John Leonard Breed, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Poziere or in the low scrub at Gallipoli with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. We thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial and wish you all a very good evening.